Hello and welcome to another episode of the Classical Republican. Today we are talking about the Second Hellenistic Republic. And let's just review really quickly. Back in the 19th century, from 1822 to 1832, there was the first Hellenistic Republic, and that was the first government of Greece. And it was very chaotic, and it fell apart, and the Western imperial powers wanted them to have a king. So they had a king for almost a century. They were German and Danish. And then in 1923, there was a coup that toppled the monarchy. So from 24 to 35, there was a second republic. Also at this time, we have a changing of vocabulary. We don't, the First Republic was, they used the term politeia, which in English is polity. And so that is harkens back to the idea of Aristotle and his ideal size of a city-state where a government would be large enough to protect people, but small enough where people can make an impact on their community. So they drop that and they start using demokratia, which is democracy, but it's not the democracy, the direct democracy that we saw in ancient Athens. It's more like a modern liberal republic. And so this democratia is kind of a liberal republic. It means democracy, kind of like how we use democracy to mean liberal democracy today, which also has a little bit of mix of republicanism in it. Okay, so we're 1924. Now, let me give you a few other problems that are going on here. And what's going on at this time, well, just before this time, is that we had the Greco-Turkish War. And here's a little update on the expansion of Greece. You can see by looking at this map. And what happened right after World War I is Greece sided with the Allies, fought against the Ottomans, and they took over a lot of land here in Asia Minor. And so that was they took a lot of land, and probably like half of modern day Turkey. And then they overstretched their lines and then got pushed back by Ataturk, and the Turks were able to push them all the way back. And it was a pretty bad, devastating experience for Greece. There were all these refugees from there, because if you remember from your Roman history, there were more Greek-speaking people in Asia Minor than there were on the modern mainland of Greece, of what we think of as Greece today. So you had all these refugees pouring into this smaller Greece, well, which was bigger from when we looked at it last time, but from prior to World War I, was smaller. Now, so you have you have all these refugees, you have a huge refugee problem, and then you have a very unpopular Treaty of Ankara, and that's where the Greek government agreed to to the borders and to the people exchange. So a lot of Turks had to go to leave Greece and go to Turkey. A lot of Greeks had to leave Turkey, what was then now Turkey, and go to Greece, what is now Greece. And you also had the Great Depression. So this caused a lot of instability. But we have a pretty pretty, I would say a pretty good government. You have these, you have a lower house, which was a Vuli of 200 to 250 for 4-year terms. They were elected by the people. You had Liberal Party, which was kind of a Republican party. And then you had the People's Party, which was a pro-monarchist party. Then you had, okay, so you had, and those were the parties that operated, the most popular parties that operated in this parliamentary system. Then you had the upper house, which was the Gerousia, which was an institution that which is basically a Senate. The Gerousia comes from the Spartan administration, Spartan regime, thousands of years ago. Now, they had 120 members of their Senate, but the majority were elected by the people, but then they also had some members were elected by the lower house and the Senate together. You had some that represented ethnic minorities, and you had some that were elected by unions. So we kind of see something similar to that at this time in Italy. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. You have a lot of different sectors of society being, you know, having a mandatory representation in the upper house, and but with all these problems, the Great Depression, the treaty, and the refugee crisis, you have a lot of instability just in the political environment because of those things, and the government falls apart, the monarchy is restored, and Yanis Metaxas is appointed dictator. So he's kind of semi-fascist. He's a little bit more like Franco in Spain, where Franco wasn't, I don't know if you call him an actual fascist, though he did have connections with fascists. There were fascists in his government, and he did fascist things, but he also did some other things that weren't exactly fascist. So it's difficult to categorize him as a straight up fascist, but definitely sympathized with the fascist, and that was their yeah, that was their form of government. So, all right, hope you enjoyed that, and until next time, long live the Republic.